Vaccine mandates are philosophically very complex. They concern nuanced topics such as bodily autonomy, collective versus individual rights, and the limits of government power. Vaccine mandates are not a philosophically simple policy. If you think that they are obviously good or obviously bad, you are an idiot. This is a complex and nuanced philosophical topic. It is a topic which we should be subjecting to extensive consideration. The implications and justifications at play are many. And yet so many left-leaning people are completely and utterly incapable of considering vaccine mandates. They just choose their side based on what everyone else on their political team chose. This becomes very obvious when you talk to them and realize they didn't think about it for a minute. The degree to which people are determined to ignore the philosophical complexity of this issue is disgusting. The utter determination to avoid any semblance of introspection or rational consideration. I honestly find it astounding. Obviously, mandates are not particularly relevant now, but this is an important philosophical issue nonetheless. It concerns ideas of bodily autonomy, the limits of government power, and individual versus collective rights, which are of eternal significance. You can't claim to support bodily autonomy while supporting vaccine mandates and just leave it at that. You have to engage in some more consideration to iron out that apparent inconsistency. Only the intellectually lazy fear doing such a thing. Some will claim that doing so only empowers right-wing arguments. How exactly are right-wing arguments empowered by consideration which disproves their diagnosis of inconsistency? How is that empowering? I think that valuing bodily autonomy and supporting mandates can be made somewhat consistent with a bit of consideration. But a massive number of pro-mandate people didn't even bother trying to make these things consistent. They paraded about with beliefs that seemed blatantly contradictory while refusing to consider if they truly were. These people are an idiotic caricature of left-wing beliefs. They hold beliefs which appear to be openly inconsistent and won't bother thinking about why they might not be out of fear that doing so somehow empowers conservative narratives. This is incredibly idiotic. I recall people who literally claim to be anarchist adjacent, cheering on the state taking away people's bodily autonomy with vaccine mandates. The lack of consideration is truly incredible. So many people just treat politics like a team sport, where they unquestioningly and dogmatically accept whatever position is associated with their political side. I am ostensibly pro-mandate. But I take issue with many pro-mandate people nonetheless, because a great number of them are dogmatic idiots who have not considered mandates for a second. They are unthinking fools. The extent to which people shut down at the very thought of considering vaccine mandates is appalling. People don't just shut down either. They become enraged. The very prospect of having to consider their beliefs angers them. The idea of introspection makes them furious. They are lazy and they are stupid. And I know what people say. Disingenuous conservatives weaponize questions, nuances, and complexities to argue against mandates. I don't care. We shouldn't become unthinking, unquestioning idiots just because we don't want to look like conservatives. You only make conservative arguments look valid when you refuse to consider your beliefs and openly despise the very idea of introspection and rational consideration. Do you really believe the response to conservative arguments is behaving like some kind of dogmatic troglodyte? Almost every single political issue has nuances and complexities which disingenuous conservatives exploit. That is no excuse to become an unquestioning dogmatic idiot who sieves at the very idea of rational introspection and thoughtful consideration. Disingenuous conservative idiots are not going to lead me to abandon rationality and thoughtful consideration. Why? Because I am not a complete idiot. If you have any confidence in your beliefs, you should welcome all of the rational introspection and thoughtful consideration in the world. I know that I do. Every political and philosophical idea should be subject to nuanced rational consideration. Such consideration allows us to determine what ideas are rational, useful, and desirable, and what ideas are irrational, useless, and undesirable. Rational consideration is a functioning compass that leads us to desirable ideas. Irrational dogmatism is a broken compass that leads anywhere and everywhere. The irrational and dogmatic believe the right things and the wrong things, and they are categorically incapable of identifying them. Dogmatism leads towards every depravity and many a desirability. Only thoughtful consideration and rational introspection leads away from the depraved and towards the desirable. Encouraging rational consideration and well-reasoned thought is the best safeguard against people having bad beliefs. Believing the right thing isn't good enough. You should believe the right thing for the right reasons. You should have engaged in thoughtful consideration and rational introspection. This is the best safeguard against horrible beliefs. We must encourage thoughtful consideration and rational thought. Believing the right things is not good enough. We must believe the right things for the right reasons. We must be thoughtful and well considered. There is no better safeguard against bad beliefs. We must not select our positions based on what our political side chooses. We must discard the festering cancer that is dogmatic irrationality. These issues and ideas are philosophically complex. We would be wise to treat them as such.